This is a huge spike this morning. Like I said, I think it was 25% already just this morning, and that's like what the first hour of trading.
Some big news from Starbucks this morning as the stock is surging as the company announced its fourth CEO in just 2 years. But this announcement is a pretty popular name. Here to break it all down for us is our MarketBeat analysts, Chris Markoch and Thomas Hughes. Guys, really big news this morning. Great news for Starbucks, not so great for Chipotle, right?
Right. This is a shocking surprise to
Yeah.
everybody. Starbucks, like you said, has had several new CEOs in the last few years. The CEO that was just ousted, Mr. Narasimhan, I think that's correct. Narasimhan was from PepsiCo. There was quite a big transition, him coming on board and Schultz leaving again. It was supposed to be a really, really good move. The company has floundered ever since then. And then again, with Chipotle, Brian Niccol has been entrenched there for years. He's responsible for their great rebound and growth story. And that's a surprise for his investors as well. So this is it's a pretty big shock for the market, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I saw Starbucks is up like 25% already this morning, and I Chipotle was down 10%. I don't know if it's down more than that, but yeah, I mean, Starbucks is trying to see what they can do to take some of what Nichols was doing at Chipotle, and if he can bring that culture over to Starbucks. Starbucks has been kind of a mess. I mean, they've had activist investors are now actively trying to get the company to change their policies, and I guess this is phase one of that.
Let's talk about why Starbucks has been a mess. What's been going on with this stock over the last couple of years and this company?
Kind of from the 10,000-foot view, um, the culture is really based on CEO Schultz.
Yeah.
He is the one that really catalyzed the business and grew it to where it is today. We've seen over the last 10 years, when he leaves, Starbucks has problems, right? And like I said before, this transition to this now ousted CEO was really a big deal. It took a long time. He had a big vote of confidence from
Right.
Schultz himself. It was supposed to be a much better transition than it was.
If you look at the numbers for Starbucks, it hasn't been that bad, but right now they're suffering with some real big demand issues in China, and then they're also getting weaker consumer demand here in the United States. So it's kind of a mess all the way around, just in terms of the company just doesn't seem to have a lot of traction. They seem to be a company that's just they're kind of running in place. This certainly is giving the stock traction.
So I saw it, Starbucks stock was really down quite a bit this year, but today it's already kind of
Yeah.
making up a lot of those losses. What about Brian Nichols has, and this new CEO, has investors so excited?
Well, right. Brian Niccol has done a fantastic job at Chipotle. He took over the company shortly after they had their foodborne illness scandals during the very early parts of the pandemic. He built the team. He invigorated a culture within the company. He built up the focus on quality, on store count growth, and on digitization. Digitization has been driving their growth and their margins because of the Chipotlanes. They started doing drive-through business, and that is improving unit sales and unit margins. And Starbucks wants to see that happen for their own business. The problem with Starbucks is that it's a huge company and it's going to be hard to get those kinds of changes, the significance that Brian Niccol has brought to Chipotle in such a large business.
Now, Chris, do you think a CEO has the power to make those kinds of big changes that investors are hoping?
Well, I think Nickel certainly does because Starbucks we don't know, at least right now we don't know the details of the compensation package, but certainly Starbucks is giving him the keys. I mean, this is similar to a professional sports team going out and they're hiring the big name coach and they're turning over the entire franchise to that person and hoping that he can make a big change. And that I think is really what I think needs to be emphasized here is I think ultimately this is a Starbucks story. Hopefully for Chipotle, Nichols left a culture in place at Chipotle that can go and survive without him, because if it can't, that's going to be a bigger story there. I think traders are going to make Chipotle's going to pay a tax because they let Nichols go. But ultimately, yeah, I think Nichols is coming in with all the power he wants to do whatever he feels needs to be done. And you have to think he's got some ideas of what he needs to do if he's going to be taking on a job like this.
Brian Niccol is not just the new CEO, he's also the new chairman of the board. That
Oh, that's
means he
true.
does really have ultimate control of the entire business. And
Yep.
that is really a big, huge move for Starbucks.
I'd look and see, Bridget, what happens with their China business, because that's been an area that Starbucks has been struggling with. It's an area that the activists, investors have been chirping about. I think there's probably going to be some move there in terms of how do they divest themselves from that business.
I just did a video with our MarketBeat analyst JU yesterday
Mhm.
talking about how Chipotle is down a little bit.
Yeah.
Before this news even, they were down about 20%, but Jay was saying it's a great opportunity to get into the stock at a bargain price simply because their earnings data, their stats, their future outlook are all so good and solid. Does this change in CEO really take away that positive outlook for Chipotle?
I mean, it doesn't necessarily, but it does put the market on hold. It's a blow to confidence. We're going to want to see the company be able to follow through. They've raised the COO to interim CEO, and he's in good position to be able to continue with Mr. Niccol's plans. The question is the same as it is with Starbucks. Starbucks does great with Schultz, not so great with anybody else. Will Chipotle be able to continue doing great without Brian Niccol at the helm?
That's really a good point that Thomas is making, because typically you hear the phrase buy the rumor, sell the news. There was no rumor, and now they're just selling the news.
Right.
And so I think that could go on for a little while longer with Chipotle as people try to digest what exactly this means, because it really did catch everybody, blindsided. So, but I think that's we're gonna have to see over the next several quarters. The fundamentals of the business should be strong. This shouldn't be a story about Chipotle, but we'll see if it turns into something.
Is it a buying opportunity even more so for Chipotle as the stock price just gets lower right now?
I mean, I would think so, but you're
Yeah.
going to want to look at that critical support level,
Yeah.
and the lows that Jay was talking about in his video right now look like they're going to be support. So at
Yeah.
that level remains as support. I would expect to see the market maybe move sideways from here, consolidate, try to build up another base of support for the next rally. That might be catalyzed by the upcoming earnings report or the report after that. We're definitely going to want to see some evidence of the company being able to maintain its success in the absence of Mr. Niccol.
How about Starbucks stock? What does this mean for investors who might be looking at this news today? Do they want to get in right now? Talk about your thoughts on when to get in on Starbucks.
Mhm. Boy, I would probably, unfortunately, if you're looking again at Starbucks, I'm probably looking for a little bit of a pullback. I mean, this is a huge spike this morning. Like I said, I think it was 25% already just this morning, and that's what the first hour of trading. So
Right.
I'm going to look for a little bit of a pullback coming off. So this is sort of the Bridget. What I said is selling the rumor on Chipotle. This is the you're buying the news on Starbucks, and I think in the coming hours and days you're going to start seeing okay, let's bring it down a little bit. Let's taper expectations. I'd be looking to buy Starbucks, but I would want a better price point than I'm getting right now.
Right. I would expect to see the price pull back, and it may not begin to rebound really and reverse into an uptrend until again we see some evidence that
Right.
the change is working.
All of it means a lot of action today, and we will, of course, continue to follow everything that happens with both Starbucks and Chipotle and more right here on MarketBeat. Happy investing.